Hello dear viewer. I recently started playing Factorio Space Age on Twitch with a crazy 1000 Science Coast multiplier on default settings after seeing this challenge on Michael Hendricks' stream. And guess what? I'm having an absolute blast trying to beat the game with a heavy burden like this. Imagine a 1 million iron ore patch and how many technologies you can get out of it. And oh look, there's a nearby 5 million ore expansion. But what if instead of 1 million plus 5 million, you only effectively had 1000 and 5000 ore? What if biters evolve 1000 times as fast? How to beat medium, big and eventually behemoth biters with early game weapons and no upgrades? Well, these are the questions and challenges you will face when trying a 1000 Science Coast run. Additionally, I play with the goal of getting the Keeping Your Hands Clean achievement, which means I'm not allowed to destroy any biter nests until I do it with artillery first. And yeah, artillery is a Vulcanus tech locked behind a measly 1.5 million science packs. Sounds impossible? Fortunately, I'm convinced that it isn't, but the grind is insane. Let me explain how I try to beat 1000 Science Coast while fulfilling the Keeping Your Hands Clean achievement. First of all, since I'm not allowed to destroy biter nests, the only way to deal with them is to keep them from spawning enemies. Building entities like pipes or walls in a certain pattern blocks all possible biter spawn locations. This way I can, so to speak, disable or capture them. In order to make it happen, I utilize gun turrets with a target priority setting, and very important, the ignore unlisted targets option. Because I don't want them to harm the spawners and only shoot at worms, biters and spitters. When the nest is overwhelmed by gun turrets, I start building the pipe pattern until the nest is captured. This has to be done to all biter nests that occupy areas I want to use later on, and I can only do it in the very early game. With 1000 Science Coast, enemies will evolve faster than I can upgrade my technologies to match their strength. There is a point in time when fighting biters becomes impossible. The exact moment depends on the strategy though. Which brings us to the next major problem. I'm playing with default settings, which means biter expansion is on. And since fighting biters becomes impossible at some point, there's no way I can capture or defend against new nests that spawn inside or near my base. The only way to deal with this problem is to prevent biters from expanding into the areas I need for my main base and mining outposts. Here's how it works. Occasionally, based on the evolution factor, the game will select a chunk as the target for the next enemy expansion. Biter expansion groups will then spawn and go there to create a new nest. A chunk is an area 32 times 32 tiles in size in Factorio's grid. Every chunk has an internal probability value that determines how likely it is that the chunk is selected to be the next enemy expansion. This value can be reduced by two things: player or enemy structures inside or near the chunk. I can abuse this to significantly reduce the probability for all chunks I deem necessary for my base by building lots and lots of pipes into every single chunk. By blocking important areas and outposts, I can prevent dangerous enemy expansions and hopefully secure enough iron and copper ore. But even when capturing nearby biter nests and blocking chunks to prevent enemy expansions, I cannot pollute active enemy nests under any circumstance. That's why choosing a good map seed and careful planning is essential. There has to be a good amount of forest to absorb pollution, and I have to carefully determine for each outpost which chunks to block and how many miners can be active at the same time to control the local pollution cloud. Researching with 1000 Science Coast takes a very long time for each technology, and the higher the science per minute rate, the more pollution the base emits. Finding a sweet spot for the maximum amount of research speed without the pollution cloud spreading too far is the name of the game. With all of this in mind, I went looking for a seed and strategy. While Michael Hendricks rushed gun turrets and 2 levels of damage to capture a ridiculous amount of biter nests for dozens of hours to secure a very large area for his base until reaching 90% evolution, which makes fighting biter nests totally impossible, I knew that I lacked the determination and endurance to suffer through 100 hours of biter nest fighting. Or as Michael puts it, how long can you play Factorio without playing Factorio? For me, the answer is clear: not long enough. So, I had to find an alternative strategy. What if I rushed to lasers and poison capsules? Poison to kill all worms, even behemoth ones, while lasers in large quantities deal with biters. This would allow me to capture enemy nests when the evolution factor is past 90%, and then I can slowly secure more ore outposts. Increase laser damage bit by bit, making me stronger and stronger until I can easily farm expansion after expansion and eventually get to Vulcanus and unlock artillery. I calculated the amount of iron ore and copper ore needed. and found a seed with a particularly large amount of iron ore nearby. And after 200 in-game hours, I finally finished the Military 3 technology. I mined a total of 23 million iron ore and 8.8 million copper. Everything worked exactly as planned, but at this point there's only 300k iron and another 400k iron left in my base. The only way to get more materials is to fight my way through the nearby enemy expansions. And this is a moment where I realized that my strategy doesn't work. In order to get to the nearest iron ore patch, I would have to fight and capture all of these spider nests. But they are so close together, it's absolutely impossible to capture a nest and not be forced to capture the adjacent ones too. So after 200 hours of in-game time, the amount of spider nests that spawned near my base is way too insane. There's no way to farm more iron ore without dropping the keeping your hands clean achievement. So I had to throw in the towel and abandon this run. But even though the Canopus run was a failure, I came up with a new strategy. Securing way more iron ore and copper ore, not researching any military technologies, trying to be as efficient as possible, and then rush straight to the rocket. After researching gun turrets, I captured round about 12 nests in total. The hardest nest to capture was this one, with 6 spawners and a lot of worms. All captured nests are close to spawn and have to be disabled in order to continue this run. I then started researching the electric mining drill, which emits way less pollution than the burner miner. And after researching logistics, which enables you to use splitters and underground belts, I built a dedicated green science factory. A new iron ore smelting area, red science production. I also upgraded all assemblers to level 2 and a huge amount of labs, because the next goal is to get solar energy. Immediately switching to solar energy is crucial. Steam engine power caused round about 400 pollution per minute, but after switching to solar energy, it's down to 80, because boilers only run during nights. This allows me to ramp up the science per minute rate slightly. Here I am at 270 science per minute, researching oil gathering. Here I'm already at 80% into the plastic research, while keeping a very close look at the pollution cloud to not pollute any enemy nests. Because the next major milestone is getting efficiency modules. After researching red circuits and making a sub-factory, I finally made it to modules. Productivity modules for the labs for free plus 8% science, and efficiency modules for everything else. Especially mining drills, who emit 80% less pollution. This allowed me to scale up production even more. While researching the quality module, I was reaching around about 450 science per minute. But since I don't have accumulators, the base loses power during nights. And this is the most important part of my new strategy. I totally stopped researching and tried to craft rare mining drills. Rare mining drills have a resource drain of 66%, which means you can mine 50% more total ore out of every patch. After crafting 63k mining drills, I got 178 rare electric mining drills. Now that my mining is very efficient, it was time to get the advanced oil processing recipe. Set up an engine sub-factory and a chemical science sub-factory to research electric furnaces. Electric furnaces allow me to be even more pollution efficient and therefore increase production. But I also wanted to eliminate the remaining boiler pollution, which is why I went for accumulators next. And now that I'm on 100% solar energy, there's only one thing left to do, which is researching the rocket. But as you can see, the technologies are very expensive. 300k science packs to get the processing unit, 300 for rocket fuel, another 300 for LDS, and the silo itself 1 million science packs. Now it's all about managing the pollution cloud, maintaining a stable science per minute rate, and taking care of the outposts. But in order to reach the rocket, I still need more resources than what is currently available in my base. In order to get more resources, I used landfill to cross the Southern Sea. Down here I found another iron ore patch with 18 million iron. I also created enemy expansion chunks that are unreachable for the biter nests. For example, right now the game selected this chunk for the next enemy expansion, but it's unreachable. And after using landfill again to find this new copper expansion with 16 million copper, I built my probably longest belt ever to transport the copper to my main base. And at this point I was very close to the rocket silo. Now it's time to build a space platform and make space science. I built 3 Starlab 90 platforms, each making 90 science per minute. At the same time, I started transforming my Akilo spaceship, that you know from my YouTube channel, into an early game gun version. And this is what I came up with after switching to solar energy, removing all the rocket production and using gun turrets for defense. Excess iron ore and plates are being sent down to Norvis. At the same time, I modified my Starlab platforms so that they also farm iron ore for my Norvis production. This way I managed to farm roughly 1.5 yellow belts of iron ore in space. And after around about 45 hours of streaming and 470 in-game hours, I boarded the rocket and went to space. There's still roughly 10 million iron and 10 million copper available on Norvis. But with a 1000 science coast multiplier, that's not much. Vulcanus has to be my new home. The only way to get to Vulcanus without any damage upgrades whatsoever is to manually fly the spacecraft. If you think that I successfully completed the 1000 Science Coast challenge, you're mistaken. Yes, I left Norvis, but the challenges awaiting me on Vulcanus are difficult as well. I need to research artillery to be able to return to Norvis and kill enemy nests. And additionally, I need some kind of defensive weapon to fight the biter counterattacks. Getting all of this research done will require a massive amount of resources, multiple science packs like military science, chemical science, but also golden science and the metallurgic science packs require large quantities of coal. That's why researching coal liquefaction, which is way more coal efficient, is mandatory before starting the artillery research. But it's another 500,000 science packs, plus 1.5 million for artillery. Before even thinking about these technologies, I also have to deal with the demolishers. And since I have 0 weapons and upgrades, I have to find a way to kill them with the resources available at my landing location. It is very well possible to run out of coal before reaching any of these goals, while being unable to fight the next tier of demolishers. That's why this run is far from being successful. If you want to see me continue this playthrough, follow me on Twitch TV/Avadi. All VODs are also available on my second YouTube channel, Avadi After Hours. It would be nice to see you in chat. Thanks, bye.